Good morning, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to all the members who have joined us on this wonderful IBG platform today. In today's webinar cafe session, we have a very interesting topic that we are going to be conducting. And the topic is how automation has transformed NHAI. And we have a very special speaker guest on this platform today, Mr. Akhilesh Srivastava. So there is a lot of things lined up for you guys today. But before we dive into the session and into the topic, let's talk a little bit more about IBG. IBG stands for India Business Group, which is a modern non-profit chamber of commerce operating out of Mumbai for more than 8 years. IBG focuses on mentoring and supporting business communities to grow into global corporation. IBG wants its members to explore cross-border trade and investment opportunities. We have over 80,000 members on the mailing list and over 1,000 active members. IBG was founded by Mr. Vikash Mittal, who is the president and founder of IBG. So in order to understand and get to know a little bit more about IBG, let's go ahead and watch the wonderful video of IBG. Over to you, Girish.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to India Business Group. We are a modern chamber of commerce focused on mentoring and supporting Indian businesses to help them grow globally. IBG was founded by Mr. Vikash Mittal, CMD of Nazara Technologies and the Honorary Consul General of the Republic of Mali, headed by CEO Ms. Priya Pansare and managed by Girish Bhatija, Siddhi Jadhav and Sujata Pawar. IBG has a network of 80,000 associations with over 1,000 active members. It also organizes sector-specific events for their members pertaining to sectors like real estate, entertainment, film and media, healthcare and pharmaceutical, HR, learning and development, travel, tourism and hospitality, banking and finance, manufacturing and retail, advertising and marketing, logistics and infrastructure, and IT. We invite Consul General and Trade Commissioners to explore trade opportunities between countries. We help connect our members with consulates to explore their business on an international arena. Ladies and gentlemen, we've signed MOU with around 50 Chamber of Commerce across the globe. We're also doing sector meetings for our members to help find the right connect. We do conduct B2B meetings with domestic as well as international chambers, which help your business grow with bounds and heaps. So, what are you waiting for? Welcome to our most wondrous world of IBG, India Business Group. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful video. And as always, whenever I watch this video, I'm always very, very inspired. So let's get on with the session. But before that, I would like to invite our CEO, the beautiful and charming Miss Priya Pansare, to come on the platform and say a few words. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you, Agnes. And first of all, let me start with apologizing for Vikas sir's absence. He's not able to join us today, so he sent his apologies or the same. And a warm welcome to Mr. Srivastava to join our platform today and give this wonderful session to our members. As you have seen that we are a Chamber of Commerce since past 8 years in inceptions, and we have around 80 sister chambers all over the world. We keep doing this kind of speaker sessions every month, and we have a lot of B2B meetings which are conducted in our chamber, which helps our members directly get business from those meetings. And a big announcement, we have our pot boiler on 1st of September. So the people who have been with us since a long time knows what pot boiler is. Pot boiler is a networking event, and we have like a small gathering at some venue in Bombay, and there is a lot of business which happens in this event. So you all are welcome on 1st of September at Dirty Martini, Bandra. And please drop in your email IDs on the chat box now so that we can send all the details over there. Thank you. Over to you, Agnes.
Thank you so much, Priya, for starting this session with this very exciting announcement that everybody has been waiting for, because this is, I guess, the first event like this post the pandemic. So really looking forward. And as Priya has mentioned, please drop in your email IDs in the chat box below so that we can take a note of it. So now we will start with our session. So today's guest speaker is a very, very special gentleman who has loads of accolades and achievements to his list. His name is Mr. Akhilesh Srivastava. His qualifications are BTech Gold Medal from IIT, Global MBA from ISB, PG in Infra Development from NIC MAR, Management Certificate courses from Wharton and Kellogg Business Schools, pursuing part-time PhD from IIT Delhi in ITS, and online course in AI from Stanford University, USA. Globally known for innovative skills and digital solutions, working as Chief General Manager, IT and Commercial Operations in NHAI and COO of IHMCL, successfully implemented India's most successful digital program, FASTag, expertise on GSS. Apart from these, some key achievements in last few years include development of e-tendering CPPP portal with NIC for MES, development of first e-MB portal, now being used by many PSUs, development of India's first online dispute portal, ODR, with CIDC launched by Vice President of India 2017. There's lots more that is there in his profile, but I guess his presentation will say it all. So now I would like to hand over the session and the platform to the extremely talented Mr. Akhilesh Srivastava. Over to you, Akhilesh, and all the very best.
Thank you, Agnes. And thank you very much to IBG for organizing such a wonderful discussion. This is the need of the hour. We have India is targeting to be a 5 billion economy by 2025. Then infra has to play a very big role. So I will be making my presentation or discussion on a larger canvas, not just restricting to what NHAI is doing. NHAI is doing a part of infrastructure, but the overall canvas is the big picture of the infrastructure. So let me share my screen with you all. I hope it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, thanks, Agnes. What we'll be talking today in a broader way, on a bigger canvas, what is the landscape of infrastructure sector? Of course, that will include a small part which is done by highways for NHAI. I've been then focusing on the case studies on how success story of the digitization in NHAI leading to a great success in the highway sector. But what are the general challenges of any infrastructure development? Why the projects are slow, and what is the solution? How digital is improving these things? Let's just have a broad look, though I'm aware most of you know it, but globally, $10 trillion are invested in the construction industry as of now, which is likely to double by 2025. And the construction globally constitute approximately 6% of the GDP, slightly lesser in the developed countries, but more in a developing country like India, where it is contributing approximately 9.6, and in some places it is more than 10 or 10.5%. This is the largest, second largest employment provider after agriculture, if we talk about India, and is the biggest consumer of natural resources. Roughly 50% of the natural resources, sand, aggregates, these are consumed, wood, timber, these are consumed by the infrastructure itself. And approximately 1/3 of the steel produced globally is also consumed by infrastructure sector. And all these resources are non-renewable sources. If you mine, take out aggregate or sand, you are depleting the earth by that precious natural resource, which our future generations will be deprived of. So it's a non-renewable. We cannot simply keep on utilizing it and depriving our future generations. So there has to be a proper circular economy. We have to think of various other alternatives. That's another big landscape. And considering that infrastructure is such an important thing, is a great contributor, accelerator to the growth of GDP. The government of India is planning 1.6 trillion US dollar equivalent investment into the infrastructure sector in next 4 years, so that we achieve the target of 5 billion US economy. And another big thing is the multiplying effect of infrastructure sector growth. If you invest 100 rupees in infrastructure as on date, the multiplier effect it has is roughly 2.25%. So that's the advantage when investment is made into infrastructure. But that's the one part. There's a big landscape of infrastructure, a big story unfolding. But what is actually happening on the ground? Does infrastructure sector is ready to take these investment directly? What are the challenges? We are seeing a lot of projects are delayed. Why these are delayed? And if that trend continues, what's going to happen to 1.6 trillion US dollar being invested? And how is going to have a multiplier effect on economy if we invest and that goes into a dump, or it doesn't fructify, we couldn't complete the projects in time. So what is the primary objective of infrastructure authority or sector? For example, say NHAI. The primary focus from the business point of view is delivery the project in time, within budget and time. Then this is the number one. Second, it must be adhered to the best quality standards and meeting the all statutory requirement and the financial sanity. We cannot allow the project taking a shape which is not complying to the statutory compliances, and there is some financial irregularities going on. And once the infrastructure is ready, be it a highway or power plant or any other infrastructure, then it has to be put in use for another 30 year, 40 year or 100 year as per the life. So during this time, the best use of asset is taken in a most optimal way. For example, the FASTag, which we implemented after construction of highway, that's the optimizing the movement of people. The time at toll plaza has reduced, leading to a lot of saving, which I will be talking subsequently. If we took there's a study which I did, it's available on the site of Ministry of Statistics, which says approximately 42% of the large projects are delayed. And the delay is not minor delay. The delays are in many projects are over multiple years. Some projects don't have even targeted closing time as of now. They're so delayed for 3 years plus, and there is no finite line when it's going to complete. And so roughly half the projects are delayed. And these delays ultimately cause cost overrun, and of course, time overrun leads to many other legal consequences, large number of disputes, because the investors who has invested money, considering that lock-in period of 2.5 years or 3 years, if that is prolonged to 5 years, probably they get bankrupt or the other financial strains comes up. And that in fact discourages the further investment into the infrastructure sector or the highway construction, airport construction and others. In addition to the large number of disputes, a rough estimate says approximately 7.5 lakh crore rupees are logged into the various court cases or the disputes of the infrastructure, and approximately 91,000 crore said to be logged into the arbitration of highway sector itself. Second is a poor project financing mechanism, because the projects are financed by financial institutions, the banks and others, but unfortunately they do not have real-time access to the project sites. the banks, which we did in NHAI, and I will be explaining how it changed the game. If a bank is investing money and he does not know, he just believes on a one-page report submitted by the builder or the authority after 2 months or 3 months or a quarter, and based on that he further releases money without knowing that the earlier money has been actually utilized or it has gone in a sum. That leads to ultimately a poor financial regulations or the monitoring, and it creates a lot of NPA and others. Outdated monitoring mechanism, as I told you, now we are using the drones, and there are many mechanisms to improve it better. You can have a real-time monitoring of the projects. Low ROI in comparison to other sectors. That's another thing I was saying. Though it has a multiplier effect, the multiplier effect is a 2.21 per nearly 2.2 times, but the ROI to the investors, the contractor, the concessionaire is very low. So there is apprehension. There are only few limited players who work on it. It's not like healthcare or finance, fintechs or other manufacturing, where a lot of people come and make a lot of money. No, either they will be land up in some disputes, or only few people who has got some in-house knowledge about it, because of opaqueness or non-transparency, and that creates another bad name to the infrastructure sector, that it's something is shady over there. Low productivity is because of it's more manual driven. Till now, you'll find a lot of approximately 65 to 67% the work is done by the manual laborers. Majority of them are unskilled or semi-skilled. So these people, there is a lot of need to automate it. By automation, we are not reducing their jobs, but we are improving the productivity. With this low productivity, the ultimately cost goes high and ROI further comes down, which accumulates to the problem. And the thing which I'm going to focus more today is the low adoption of technology in the construction industry. If you see, the construction is second from the bottom. After agriculture, there is the construction, and if you do not improve, probably it will go to lowest and the stable, because agriculture very recently has started using technology in a very big way. I can see a lot of satellite imagery, drones, artificial intelligence. These things are very extensively being used in the agriculture sector. So the construction industry has to revamp itself, revive, and take the benefit of our technology adoption, because technology has suddenly changed the landscape of manufacturing and financial. And those benefits can be taken by the construction sector as well, and which NHAI demonstrated how it is changing it. Then highly labor intensive and the environment sustainability are the other challenges. Another challenge which generally faced by the infrastructure, for example, say NHAI making the highways, by the time we convert a 2-lane highway into 4-lane highway, it gets choked, because it takes 3 to 4 years to construct. And by the time it is ready, the traffic, so much traffic has come on the vehicle, on the road, that this becomes already choked, and we, after some time, we start going for 6-lane, and then this vicious cycle keeps on going. That's because there is a very fast pace of urbanization in India. As of now, it's roughly 35% of people are living into the cities. But the prediction says by in another 10 years, this figure is going to be around 42 to 44%. That means if our population by 2030 goes to 150 crores, around 60 crore plus people will be in the cities. And cities are hardly in numbers. They can be counted in hundreds only. So the pressure on these and the arteries or the highways which are connecting to these or airports is going to be tremendous. There has to be something else. You have to use technology to reduce, because you cannot infinitely expand the infrastructure. Here comes the technology again. And the project complexity, of course, is increasing. Now we are making 100-story buildings. We are making a lot of monuments which are very highly technology complex in design. And the generation gap is another thing. Now in our time, we book a flat and we will wait for 5 to 7 years or even 10 years. A lot of disputes in around Delhi housing complex are going on. But just think of the young boys and girls of this millennia who are in their 20s or 80s. They don't want, they have been born with very high speed internet. The things are available just on a click of button. So they're not going to wait for 10 years for an infrastructure project or a highway to get completed and then it is handed over. So that discontent or the dissatisfaction is rising very fast. This has to be also taken into account when we discuss about it. So what is the solution? The solution comes to this is to automate the system. And by automating the construction sector or infrastructure, as we did in NHAI, what are the benefits it derived? Let's examine that and discuss. I will be sharing my experience like a case study of the NHAI, what we did. The silver line for all these problems is that India is a youthful country. You know, around 65% of our population is in a working group age of 18 to 55 years. They are very young and enthusiastic. Most of them are tech savvy as well, though they not be knowing the full coding, but they know how to use WhatsApp, how to use internet, how to search for something and what are things. So the tech savvy which is required for a construction industry, because we don't want that they should start coding for a construction industry. They should know how to use the technology to improve their productivity, limited to them. Have a bigger overall picture. What happens as of now, if you construct a highway, there are say 100-kilometer stretch of highway, there are more than 1,000 laborers or the workforce working over there. Then this is divided into various segments. The person actually working on a small segment, he doesn't have the big picture which technology can give him. Similarly, in a building construction, if a CEO, top man of a company or a CEO or a state wants to replicate some building which he has seen somewhere, he comes and tells about it to the engineers of his company or the the chief engineer or whoever is heading the construction organization in the state or the company. This man draws something, consults an architect, then an architecture is prepared, then there is a detailing are done. Finally, it is given to a contractor who has not seen that building. Probably there is a communication gap which is multiplying. And at the end of it, the contractor also doesn't work. He outsource it to the petty contractors, and the person who is making it on the ground, the labor, the skilled person, has come from some area like Bihar, Jharkhand, Ranchi, or some other places. He hasn't seen that picture. He do not know the big picture. So whatever work has been given to him, he is doing. So there remains a lot of dissatisfaction. What was initially thought, what has come on the ground? And in this digital age, this gap is it's alarming. The people are now watchful. They know they have access to the information. Few decades back, it was okay. There was no other alternative. So we have to address that thing as well. How can we do this? How technology can manage the things? I hope I'm in time. Yeah. We have to manage the supply chain in a digital process. This is very simple. There are plenty of applications which we did in NHAI. How we transform the work execution mechanism by using the drones, by using LiDARs, by integrating various softwares of the contractor, concessionaires, procuring the material which is exactly required at the time of construction, not storing, creating a huge heap of aggregates which may be required 3 months of now. There are plenty of software which can suggest you your requirement. You can still keep on making it leaner and leaner. That's what we did, so that the money is not blocked, cash flow remains there. Then reducing the project handover cost and digital twin for operations. What now we are doing and many other companies worldwide are doing is they are creating a digital twin. Earlier, the drawings or the blueprints were created, which were kept to know the underground pipelines or other things in case required subsequently once the project is handed over. But now a digital twin is created. Digital twin is a 3D model. Plus now we are adding time and cost to as fourth and fifth dimension. So while work is progressing, you just put the cursor at the date. It will tell you how much money should have been spent by now, what is the progress as of now, and that gap can be identified and the corrective measures can be taken during the construction. Similarly, this digital twin when added with machine learning tools and AI tells you what is going to come in during O&M stages and how it can be resolved. And then how you can put a SCADA over there for maintenance of a DG set or maintenance of some building related, infra related structures. You need not to go for the full scale, putting a person to look at it. For example, say DG set, the machine connected with the SCADA system itself tells that my servicing is due on such and such date. It can even send a message to the manufacturer, OEM, that this is due, my oil has dipped, refill the oil and all those things. So these are optimizing the operation and reducing the cost, making it more cost effective and user friendly and better services. Similarly, for monitoring of the projects, what we in NHAI did, we started using drone very extensively, and making a video using a drone for all the projects under execution at every month is mandatory, and that has to be uploaded on a in big data platform, cloud-based platform, which we had prepared is NHAI Data Lake. And this drone video then analyzed using AI software gives you the exact progress, how much progress was made for the different layers. They're still in the nascent stage, but now data has started flowing in at some selected sites. We are doing it, but soon it will spread to others. So what is this doing? We are not relying only on the input given by the project director that we may 5-kilometer road this month. No, this drone is telling the correct thing. Similarly, when we are looking at the maintenance problems of the bridges, it's very difficult to go below the bridge and such a hostile terrain, or below there is a river or the valley, and look at this. So people used to hang from the ropes and all, and then they used to go and do some non-destructive testing. But now the drones are there, you position them, they will go below the bridge, they will magnify the cracks if any seen over there, they will hold over there and give you the complete reality about this using a augmented reality holographic data. These things are creating a revolution into the project monitoring of infrastructure sector. I mean, but these things are improving the things, but there are certain hurdles as well. The hurdles I should also discuss. I mean, I call it jokingly techno dinosaurs, because as of now, the younger generation has yet to take over the top position, barring few startups. The majority of the senior people who are the key decision makers in any government organization, PSU, or even in the private companies, corporates, they are the people who are either Y generation or X generation, or they are not that tech savvy. I'm talking in a totality. There are many smarter people who are doing it in a better way than any youngster. But in general, they're not that tech savvy. But the decision makers approving a project, giving money for IT implementation rests with them. So there you have to convince what is the ROI if you invest in, for example, say in NHAI Data Lake, we invested very small money, but the output it achieved was tremendous. Similarly, the ODR, the online dispute resolution portal, which made with the CIDC and inaugurated by Honorable Vice President, the investment was, I mean, you just cannot imagine, it was in a few lakhs only. But during COVID time, the benefit it occurred was more than 100 crore, because it connected the contractor, the consultant, the arbitrators on a single platform. In COVID time, nobody was moving. They were all connected on this digital platform. So it solved a lot of, resolved many arbitration issues. And the saving, if you put into the monetary terms, and the ROI in this case may be the 1000%. So these things has to be brought to the senior management so that the money can be properly allocated on technology upgradation. Specifying technology is another constraint. There are plenty of technologies which are floating in the market. Then all the technologies are not very effective. So some expert has to be there who tells, yeah, this technology, for example, drone is useful here, not the satellite imagery, which is much costlier than this. But satellite imagery will not give you that resolution which a drone which flies monthly gives you. But people can say satellite imagery can be used. So here comes the expertise, and then finally the coordination among the various stakeholders. I mean, your person on the ground should also be equally tech savvy. The skilled, unskilled person, I don't mean that he should be the expert into the technology, but at least he should have that understanding that how to feed the data, how this data can be used, how to open a 3D a diagram, or how to use CAD drawings. This is the bridge drawing, how to read it and take it on. Let's focus now how we started the journey of automating the NHAI, and how this has been transformed into a fully digital organization, what benefits we achieved with this background. We started this journey some 7 years back, and we did this, got this study done by BCG, and the saving which we could think for a highway was roughly 16% in the total project cycle cost, and 23% saving can be achieved in the construction time. But this workout, when we recently did the study, these figures has almost increased by 50%. I will be explaining you how this has gone up. We identified what are the challenges generally faced by NHAI in construction of a highway: the land acquisition, forest clearance, mobilization by the contractor, court cases, contractual things. For example, say court cases, I will take a pause to explain what is I mean by this, the contractual issues. It's a linear construction. The NHAI is supposed to acquire the land from the owners of the land, the villagers, and the other people whose property is falling into that area, and then hand it over to the contractor so that he can construct it.
One moment. I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
I don't know what's that. Anyway, so hand it over to the contractor to construct. But suppose a land is delayed, a piece of land is not handed over to a contractor. In that case, this is going to, the contractor's man machinery may be idle by the time we procure the land and hand it over to them. It may prolong for a month, it may prolong to the years, and we have seen it in many cases. It has been more than years because the owner went to the court, the legal processes took a lot of time. So till all these time, the the contractors claim in disputes that their machine, manpower, everything was lying idle. So they owe so much, they should be given so much money to compensate them. Now using the technology, actually you map it using a drone, it will tell how many machines were lying there and how many people were there. apart from resolving the issues and acquiring the land, it also helps
One
in,
second.
in identifying these things.
Working on that.
Akhilesh sir, you have to cancel the Srini.
I don't know what is that. It's coming from this side.
Yeah.
But
Here's what I found.
How to cancel this?
Yeah, this X.
Close
icon. Yeah.
This blue icon?
No, upper.
Okay. Yeah.
Close icon.
This is
little left.
No, this one. No?
Left. Upper left corner.
Can you see that cross, that gray cross?
This one?
Up, little up on the left. Left corner of this dialog box. This gray dialog box.
Yeah. It's okay now.
Okay. What I was talking about, these things we handle in NHAI. We identified what are the issues, then quality checks, operation and management, and how can we put technology. So we divided the entire project life cycle of NHAI, the highway construction, into 4 different tracks: the planning track, the preparation track, the construction, and the operation. These are all managed by different set of people. That was our idea. So in planning, and what technology we can quickly put into these operations, so that it becomes digital and improve the productivity or efficiency. For example, in planning, we started using the geospatial network planning, the traffic analysis, simulation, GIS-based, LiDAR, drones were the things used over. During preparation, we started using the automatic traffic counter to actually calculate what is the traffic on this highway, and what accordingly model it, simulate it, and find what will be after the construction, considering many other aspects in mind. This constructing a highway in fact improves the prosperity of that area, that adds as a catalyzing effect for increasing the traffic. So and it's very simple to model when you are using the technology. Remote sensing topography. So these are the different technologies which we thought we'll be using in preparation. And once the proper DPR is prepared, it is handed over to the contractor after a proper bidding. This should be properly monitored using very advanced monitoring system, which can like I told you, drones we are using project management software, which is scalable, which is using the machine learning tools as well. Then advanced construction technology, advanced construction materials can be, which are now recommended, these incorporated over there. And when we come to the operation side, the electronic toll collection, express tolling, the road safety, providing WIMS, weight in motion, lane control devices, and many more. And then in case some incident happens, then within golden hour, the ambulance or the recovery vans must reach to the site, so that we can save the maximum number of people who has unfortunately suffered with an accident. And finally, these are all flowing into a NHAI data lake, which with the different modules as of now is monitoring these things and giving the advanced alerts. It is also optimizing the things. For example, the advanced alerts, I mean, all our contractor, concessionaire, project management consultants, our project directors, RO office, headquarters NHAI, they're all part to this NHAI data lake. So fully digital organized, they all work on this NHAI data lake for the entire workflows. If a contractor or concessionaire submits a request for some approval, the moment there is a format, he will open and submit it. The moment he submits it, an alert goes to the respective engineer who is supposed to give decision or analyze it and submit it to the project director. This timeline is shown when it has reached to them and how much time they are going to take into it. That complete tracking is done. It gives advance reminders also, and the moment it is crossing the time, explanation automatically system driven goes to them. So in nutshell, we use these IoT devices, LiDAR, GPS, falling weight deflectometer, network survey vehicles to check the signages, retro reflector. These are all now mandated in the NHAI contracts. So any contractor or the consultant coming to a project site to execute a project, he has to follow all these things. There is no leeway that or it is left to the people to use it. These are all legal requirements. They have to use all these things. And of course, for citizens, we took the 1033 helpline and sorry, apps. And the, how GIS-based landscape, which I am not going to go into much detail. There is some of the diagrams which shows up to what level of detailing using the technology NHAI is doing. It marks the digital map on a imagery, Google satellite imagery, and exactly identify what is the area and whom this land belongs. Unfortunately, many states are not having the digital cadastral map. Khasra and all these things are not digitized. And even if it is digitized, it's not being updated when a property is sold to somebody or has been transferred from father to their children. It's not getting updated real time. Had it been done, probably that's the next step. That land acquisition process will greatly reduced, solving a lot of problems. When we do 3D modeling, I just want to explain you how we are now capturing the entire 3D, creating a 3D model. And the same is now we are adding a 4th dimension as cost and time, 4th and 5th dimension. So for tracking the entire project. And in data lake, what I was telling this is how we are monitoring it. It gives you how much time has been taken at which level of approval. Just an example, before this data lake monitoring, there were more than 200 applications of extension of time pending at different levels. The moment we started tracking with this, within 15 days, this has come down to only 6 or 7. And that were the complicated cases. The rest, everything we knew where it is pending, and the chairman NHAI has been ruthless in monitoring these things these days. And the senior management took a call on this, which is the beauty of technology, to give it in a transparent way to resolve the issue and the things improve. Similarly, we created a road asset management system where when the highway is constructed, the construction records of the assets are not in the papers only, but that is also digitally available. Network survey vehicle moves, it captures the surface profile of the highway, the cracks, the undulations, everything, and that's mandatory before completion certificate is issued. And thereafter, every 6 months, this network survey vehicle moves on it mandatorily, uploads data into data lake, and then it is analyzed by our analytical software that yes, is it matching with the IRC specifications or not. If it is not, the action is taken against or penalty is imposed. These have all started in a year, from last year now. And where are the signages? Their GPS location is marked. And if next visit, if this is not found over there, the issue will be immediately flagged. This signage is missing or it's not as per that. And all these has led to the rating of the highways. That's so in totality, how it has transformed. The NHAI made a record of 534 kilometers of highway construction in just 1 week. This was in spite of the COVID. We achieved this in 1 week, and just think that 52 weeks, if every way we are going to construct highways at a very brisk pace, Not only this, last year NHAI and the MORTH ministry put together achieved a target of constructing 37-kilometer highways per day, which is probably the highest. And NHAI alone constructed more than 4,500 kilometer of national highways, 4-lane, 6-lane, or 8-lane expressways, including, which is highest ever since the inception of NHAI in 25 years. And that is in spite of the COVID, when many of the infrastructure companies or the sector are facing a serious difficulty in even starting the projects. I mean, I'm talking of the other sectors. So this is the how the digitization, the transformation took place in NHAI. Every week you will listen. We constructed highest number of road in single day, highest number of concrete pavements in single day. So all these healthy competition has started. Coming to another success story which transformed the highway sector is the FASTag in operation side. I was heading this program. Now I'm not with the NHAI. I have moved to some other formations now. So this FASTag, this has again revolutionized. Before this implementation of FASTag, the journey started in 2016, and gradually we moved. In February 2015, we mandated 100% FASTag. Before this FASTag, the there's a 18%. The average waiting time at toll plaza used to be something around between 6 to 7 minutes, which has come down to less than a minute at majority of the toll plazas, saving government by at least 21,000 crore rupees of the fuel, which is due to idling, which was being wasted. It's a national saving. Not only that, it is also it is saving the carbon emission by at least 5 lakh ton every month. So these are the another, and the toll has gone up. See, you can see it is now 100 crore, 108 crore. So roughly 100 crore per day is the toll being collected as of now. And this is assured, it is on a digital platform. So this is the writing on wall that NHAI gets roughly 100 crore per day, means approximately 40,000 crore is the average and revenue to the NHAI, and that's the minimum fix is going to go up year by year. As more roads will come under tolling, the rates will increase, the more vehicles will come. So this is a bottom line, and how it has changed the thinking about NHAI is that a year back we used to go with the banks or the finance institutions to give money because budgetary supports are to certain extent. Beyond that, we have been mandated, NHAI had been mandated to borrow from market and construct the road. So now this borrowing was a tough job. Now the financial banks are approaching NHAI to take the money because they know there is a assured revenue, and this is going to.
My apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
So ladies and gentlemen, that was all. I just wanted to say how this transformation journey of NHAI had taken place. I'm open to the questions. If any, please feel free to ask me.
Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for that wonderful presentation. It was indeed a great presentation. What a wealth of knowledge and experience you have. And thank you so much once again for sharing all this information with our people who have joined us on this platform today. And they have been really taking in all this information very seriously. And there will be a lot of questions which we will collate for you, Akhilesh. All right. Since this is a very technical thing, we will collate the questions for you. We will send it across to you, and you at your own convenience can answer them and send it back to us so that we can share it with our audience members.
Absolutely.
Okay. So thank you once again. Yes, Akhilesh, you were going to say something?
No, thanks. You can send me the questions. I will be answering it. And if required, more sessions can be done for if the questions are more particularly specific to those.
Definitely, Akhilesh. I think that such a wonderful topic and this such an intense technical topic cannot be covered in just one session. So it was a really good job for you to really summarize it very quickly in such an effective manner with that wonderful PPT. But going on further from here, I think a lot of other sessions are required on the same subject and topic. So thank you so much, Akhilesh, once again, and for your time, for your sharing with the members of IBG. And thank you everyone who has gathered on this platform today. If there are any more questions, please put it in the chat box so that the IBG team can collate it, and we will send it to Mr. Srivastava, and he will put an answer to that, and then we will share it with you. So on that note, thank you so much once again, everybody, for joining us. And with that note, till the next time we meet you guys again, stay tuned, stay connected, stay safe, and keep learning. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day ahead of you. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Agni. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.